Recording in progress.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and let's go ahead and get started. Sorry. Let's see. Okay. All right. My name is Reem Tariq. I am the Environmental Justice Outreach Coordinator with Air Alliance Houston. I've got some of my colleagues here with me. This is Genesis Granados. They serve as the Senior Environmental Justice Program Manager. I've got Anthony D'Souza in the back, who serves as the Community Air Monitoring Program Manager. And I've got Juan Flores, who is our Director of Programs. Okay. Just a little bit about who we are. If you have not heard about Air Alliance Houston, we are a nonprofit agency, and we believe that everybody has a right to breathe clean air. We do quite a bit of work in terms of research, education, as well as advocacy, but primarily we work with communities to fight for environmental justice. All right, just here's a quick overview of what I'm about to present on. I want to begin with what the permit is about. We're here to talk about the Equistar Chemicals permit, so we'll begin there. I will cover what the permit exactly allows and what do ethylene units emit. And then we'll move on to Lyondell's violation history, thanks to Carolyn. Anthony will be presenting that section. I also want to talk a bit about the tax breaks at the expense of taxpayers, and I'm hoping that Dom can help cover some portions of that slide. We'll then talk about exactly where this facility is located, some of the demographics, what are some of the landmarks that are close to this facility. We'll talk about how, okay. Would you like for me to use like a mic or something?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, is there a mic?
Yes, there, actually, I can hear you talking through it.
Oh, okay, let me just put it on me then. Is that better? Is that better? David? Excellent. All right, so we'll talk about the health and environmental considerations, and then we'll follow that up with what should TCEQ do. Some of you may not be aware of what TCEQ is. It stands for the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, and we'll talk about some of the things that you can do, okay? All right, with that, let's begin our discussion. So why are we here this evening? We're here to talk about the Equistar Chemicals permit. They have applied for a new source review permit, and that is exactly on the map where you can see that that's where the facility will be built. They say on their application that the facility will be at the 8280 Sheldon Road, Channelview address, but that's their admin building. That's not exactly where the ethylene unit will be. Carolyn has some thoughts on where that might be. She thinks, what is it, Carolyn? Is it Wallaceville and what's
it's off, if I'm correct, it's right off of Wallaceville on the south side of Wallaceville, so in between Wallaceville and Bear Bayou. I mean Wood Drive.
Wood Drive, that's right, yes.
In between Bear Bayou and Wood Drive. And the address that they provide is their admin building, which is on the far north border of the facility.
That's right, that's right. So this is gonna be on the southern side, basically, of the entire Channelview Lyondell complex. If you have a sense of where that might be, the map kind of helps with that. And just to note that any facility, any petrochemical plant, or whether it be a concrete batch plant, whatever it may be, they do need a permit to operate. And that permitting agency in the state of Texas is Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. They basically are going to permit any air permits, water permits, as well as land use. So that's the agency, and we'll talk a little bit more about what TCEQ should do in this case. But having said that, any plant that is hoping to operate needs a permit from the TCEQ. Without that permit, they cannot operate, okay? All right, oops. What am I doing? Okay. All right. So what does the permit allow? Here's what the plant is going to do. The plant is basically going to be converting ethylene into propylene and butenes. Those are olefins. Basically, these are chemicals that are used to make plastics. Okay, so the manufacturing facility itself is not going to be making plastic, but they're going to be making the precursors to what makes plastics, if that makes sense. They will be releasing over 32 tons of air pollution every year. You heard that right, that's 32 tons. Just to give you some idea of what that means, that's basically 3 jetliners worth of air pollution. That's a lot. And what pollution are we talking about? What are these exact pollutants? We'll dig deeper into that, but I want to highlight these are VOCs. Now, what does that stand for? That's volatile organic compounds. Basically, toxic fumes, not good for you. Particulate matter. What is particulate matter? It's really, really fine particles of dust and silica that can get inside your lungs and get into your bloodstream, and it's really not good for you. We're also talking about carbon monoxide that can lead to smog as well as nitrogen dioxide. So gases that are really not good for you, and particles as well. So let's dig a little bit deeper into the emissions. We've talked a little bit about this. I talked about volatile organic compounds, but I want to give you specific examples of what this ethylene derivatives unit will be emitting into the air. It's going to be releasing things like 1,3-butadiene, as well as ethylene, propylene, butenes, and benzene. Now, mark that word benzene. You're going to hear a lot about it when we talk about the violations portion. What are some of the health and environmental impacts of these? Well, for one, things like 1,3-butadiene cause cancer, and there is a high rate of cancer in this area. So there's a reason why we're presenting this information. It's important because it has impacts, real world impacts to your health and to your life. It also, in acute exposure, it could cause lung irritation, volatile organic compounds. Think of when you're at the gas station getting gas. If you smell that for too long, you basically feel dizzy. Why is that? That's volatile organic compounds, okay? Can cause lung irritation, can cause dizziness and things like that. Also, there's greenhouse gases, things like carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and fluorinated gases. These things contribute to climate change, which can basically worsen air quality and impact human health. Other toxic air pollutants that will come out of this plant are carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and ammonia. All of these are harmful to human health and can lead to respiratory issues like asthma, as well as cardiovascular diseases like heart disease, cardiac arrests, and things like that. And we'll talk about some more health impacts. But specifically, one thing I want to call out is when the TCEQ, that's again, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, when they were reviewing the air permit application, this is what they said. They said that the Channelview complex is an existing major source of VOCs and nitrogen oxides. And this project, this ethylene derivatives unit project, will basically result in a significant net increase of VOC. So the TCEQ acknowledges this. They understand that this is the reality. So we're hoping that they will remember this as they're making the decision on whether or not they should go ahead and approve the permit for this facility. All right, with that, I'm going to segue into Lyondell's violation history. I'll have Anthony cover this section.
Oh, thanks, Kim.
I don't know if you need this, Anthony. You're not as soft-spoken as I am.
I'll try to speak up loud.
Okay.
So I'll just cover a little bit about Lyondell's violation history. So they've been operating for a long time in the area. And they also have a pretty sort of a long history with regards to how well they've been abiding by their permits. So we did a bit of research into their permit history and if they've been following it. And what we found was that they have actually several failures of their permit. So the most recent one was in, all right.
That's your phone?
Yeah, sorry. The most recent one was in July of this year. That was a failure to prevent unauthorized emissions. They've also had failures for maintaining their flares properly, the failure to notify the response center when they had a release, failure to monitor benzene, to monitor ammonia and NOx. So there's quite a few issues that they've had in the last few years at least. And we added up, every single year of how many violations they had, and we got this table. So 2025 so far has had 9 violations. We're still in August, so we're not sure if hopefully they don't have any more, but right now they're at 9. 2024 had 13, 23 had 16. So you can see, I mean, it went kind of down in these 2 years, but it seems to be going back up, which is something that we want to bring up at the meeting as well, is, why are these violations going up in recent years, and are they investing enough into reducing these violations to make sure that they don't reach as high as some of the previous years, like 2020, where there were 19 violations. And so if you add up all that, that's about 78 violations since 2019, which is, it's not a small amount. And these permits are applied for by the facility. So if a facility is applying for a permit, you kind of expect them to follow the rules of that permit, because they know the requirements when they're applying for it. So that's something we want to ask them at the meeting as well, is what are the sort of rules embedded in the permit that they are aware of, and are they abiding by to make sure they don't record any more violations. Something else that we also found out when we were looking at their history is that, so these violations incur a lot of penalties, a lot of fines, but the fines aren't being used in Channelview. We found that their most recent violation was about they were fined about $20,000. But 10,000 of that went to a supplemental environmental project in Barbers Hill Independent School District, which is not even in Channelview. It's all the way 2 counties away, two ICs away from Channelview. So it's just something concerning, is like, if they're violating their permits and being fined for that, that money should be used to benefit Channelview, right? It shouldn't be used for ISDs that are not even in the county. This is in Chambers County. So this is another issue that we should bring up at the meeting, is that if you are violating your permits, the penalties and fines that you're being charged, they should be used to benefit the citizens, the people of Channelview, because your facility is in Channelview. It shouldn't be used, far away. I think that's my last slide. Do I have something else? No, I'll pass it to Bree.
Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate it. All right, the next slide that I want to talk about, and I think I'm going to lean on Dom a little bit for this, is basically the tax breaks that some of these polluters are getting at the expense of the taxpayers. I'll share what I have put on the slide, and then Dom, I'll turn it over to you to maybe provide some context to what I've shared, or perhaps fill in some of the gaps that I might have left. But basically, here's what I want to draw attention to. A couple of things. So LyondellBasell has received over 104 million in tax breaks so far. In a similar vein, Equistar has received between 75 to 78 million. And this taxpayer money basically comes from the city as well as the school districts. So think of this money, this could go towards public services, could go towards schools, could go towards parks, but instead, where is it going? It's going towards these polluters, right? And why do I bring that up? Why do I highlight the word polluters? Because basically what these 2 companies are saying is, go ahead and give us some tax breaks because we're going to be providing jobs. That's a fair statement. I like that. I like that so far. But here's the deal, I'm going to ask you folks, if a company is getting $104 million in tax breaks, how many jobs do you think should they be creating in that particular community?
10 per million.
About
10 per million.
10 per million?
Yeah,
10 per million? Okay. So by that, Phil, do the math and tell me how many jobs would that be? That would be about 100, right? 100 something? Or 10? Wait, no.
170.
100, right? Anywho, I think it should be significantly more. That would be my guess. I think it should be creating a lot more jobs. how the number of jobs that they actually ended up creating is 45. That's basically 2.3 million per job. That's saying, okay, we're going to be creating 45 jobs. Go ahead and pay each person 2.3 million. Now, similarly for Equistar got 75 million in tax breaks. And how many jobs did they get or create? 55. So something's not adding up here is my point, okay? And to add to that, if these companies are getting a tax break, they need to follow the laws, right? They need to abide by their permits. And what did Anthony just cover? Anybody remind me, what did he just cover? How many violations were there since 78? Since what was it, Anthony? 2019, 78 violations in what, the past 6 years? So they're definitely not in compliance. They're outside of compliance, which is why I put a red X on that compliance there. And also I want to draw home the point that only 3% of these tax deals are audited, right? And these deals do last up to 15 years. So something's not adding up in our assessment. We're giving all these tax breaks to these companies. They're saying they're going to create a lot of jobs, but what we're getting is very limited jobs. And are these jobs going to people that are, living and working in Channelview? Maria saying no. I have my doubts. I have my doubts whether these people are living in Channelview. It's not an investment into the community, right? But I'll leave it there. Dom, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, no, you did a great job. I love that. I think the other important thing to note is that one of the major institutions giving away tax abatements in the study, which I'll pass around this brochure, I want to take a look, is the school districts. And Channelview ISD is actually giving about, where it down, 92.1 million to LyonndellBasell. So that is money that should be coming to the school, but is instead preemptively given away to these industries, specifically Lyondell, in the form of property tax discounts. And so while everybody else in Channelview has to pay their property taxes every time it increases, and if you don't, you're gonna get in trouble, right? For these industries, there's a double standard. And so, specifically with the tax code that Channelview is using to give money to these companies, they are required to follow the permits. They're required to follow state and national permits, but clearly they're not. So if TCEQ doesn't really want to take responsibility for this issue, I think the finances when we speak to the community's ownership of this, right? This is our money. If they're going to be using our money in this industry, they have to follow the permits at least, and at least pay your fair share of taxes as well. You know? I think this is a compelling talking point for TCEQ. I don't think they were normally hearing the financial elements of it, or at least the counter side to the financial argument. And I think because it's our money, I hope that it's compelling to the community members to also be involved. This is our money, so this is our fight. We have every right to say, stop the expansion if you're using our money and not following the permits. Yeah, thank you.
Of course. All right. I also want to provide some site context to where this facility is located. Within the 2-mile radius of the facility, we have about 2,200 residents. And this area also has a higher rate of asthma, cancer, heart disease, stroke, as well as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease compared to the county at large, as well as the state. Also, the people that are living around here, 90% of the people are identified as people of color, 16% of those are African American, and 74% are Hispanic. 63% of folks that live around here speak Spanish. So just some demographics to again point out the environmental justice element to this community as well. Also, I want to go ahead and show you what are some of the landmarks that are close to this facility. We've got a couple of schools in the area, which me and my colleagues had the chance to go to share more about this permit. 2 elementary schools in the area, Crenshaw Elementary as well as Harvey Brown Elementary, Sheldon as well, Alice Johnson's Junior High School. We've also got the Channelview High School, I believe that's not listed here. Some medical facilities and clinics nearby as well. We've got Kelsey-Seybold, some physical therapy, Sheldon ISD Early Learning Center, Child Development Center, a YMCA Urgent Care for Kids, Eastview Health and Rehab Center, some parks nearby, places of worship where people worship, right? So this is where people are playing, where they're exercising, where they're worshiping, where they're going for healthcare services, as well as going to study, right? So you do want to be mindful of the fact that there's so many sensitive landmarks that are close to this facility. Also, I pointed out all of the pollutants earlier in the presentation. Now I want to talk to you about some of the health impacts of those pollutants. I talked about the 1,3-butadiene, which is one of the primary pollutants that might come out of this facility. I want to point out the fact that this is a carcinogen. So is benzene, which is another VOC, a volatile organic compound. These VOCs are known to cause cancers like leukemia, lymphomas, as well as other forms of cancer. They also lead to cardiovascular issues. So again, you're going to see higher risks of blood pressure, heart attacks, and strokes. Respiratory issues is another very common condition that often tends to develop in areas with high VOCs, high sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, and things like that. It can irritate the lungs. It can worsen asthma if you have it, bronchitis, and cause other respiratory conditions, including chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. It can also lead to neurological effects, things like headaches. So if you are thinking, gosh, I have this constant chronic headache, why doesn't it go away? Well, think about the air quality in the area that you live in, right? It can cause dizziness as well as long-term cognitive issues. It can also impact vulnerable groups. Now, when I say vulnerable groups, I'm specifically talking about children, the elderly, anyone who's above 65, as well as people with chronic illnesses that do tend to face greater health impacts. Now, mental well-being is also impacted. Things like, ongoing noise, odor, light pollution can disrupt sleep, and that can lead to anxiety and depression. Okay. All right, so in this case, what are we urging the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality to do? We're hoping that they will realize that the pollution burden for this community is extremely high, and it's a bad idea to go ahead and approve this permit. So we're hoping that they will deny the permit due to the health and pollution impacts. Now, TCEQ is not known to denying permits. It's very likely that they will go ahead and approve. So at the very minimum, what are we asking for? We're asking that they strengthen the permit with stricter pollution controls to hold Equistar accountable and require fence line monitoring that is transparent to the community and hold them accountable for any kind of emission events that they might have. Also, we're asking them to enforce the best possible pollution control practices that they possibly can. In this context, I also want to talk about what you can do, because oftentimes when I talk to community members, they feel quite powerless. They see TCEQ as well as petrochemical plants in particular as the big guy that, what am I going to be able to do? Please, try to put your cynicism to bed, because you do hold power. It really helps when you speak up, when you mobilize and use your voice, right? And how can you use your voice? Well, you could begin by contacting your elected officials. Let them know that you've got a problem with this. that certainly helps. Also, you could submit a comment at the upcoming public meeting. You can also submit a comment online or via mail if that's what you prefer. Of course, I've already mentioned this, attend the permit hearing to voice your concerns. Also, if you're noticing whether it's related to this facility or any other facility, if you're noticing any kind of odors or you see visual like plumes of smoke coming out of a facility, make sure that you document that. Take pictures of it, take videos, put it down in your journal, like, you know, I smelled this type of bad odor or what have you. Make sure you document it. Documentation certainly helps. And when you're documenting, you can also file a complaint, which the following slide will show. You can file a complaint to Harris County Pollution Control as well as TCEQ. So you have both of those avenues. And feel free to check out our website. We do put out updates on the permits that we are tracking, and do share whatever information that you're gathering on a particular facility with your neighbors. Mobilize your friends, mobilize your community, because you can't do this alone. This is the type of game where it's strength in numbers. It really matters. So bring your friends, bring your family, community members. It really does matter here. All right, so I've mentioned the permit meeting. It's taking place next week. I really hope you can make it. It's on Tuesday, August 19th at 7 p.m. And it's going to happen at San Jacinto College North Campus at the Monument Room. Now, I've included a map here that shows exactly where San Jacinto College is. It's off of Uvalde Road. So basically, you're going to take a right off of Uvalde, close to the Bezos Academy, Houston North Shore. Let me see if I can see any other landmark that's close to it that might be popular. The Nichols Gym is right there, I guess. I don't know. You could certainly Google it. I know Carolyn has an excellent map that she has handed out to everybody. Thank you, Carolyn. Amazing.
The building is actually the student union building.
Mhm.
And it can be accessed from Wallaceville Road through that entrance.
Okay.
Or I think it's the middle entrance on Normandy, on Uvalde
Mhm.
Street. So not like if you turned off of Wallaceville onto Uvalde, it wouldn't be that first entrance into the campus. It would be the next one down. You can kind of see it there.
It's on the second floor.
Yes, on the second floor. My experience has been that they have signs up, but the signs are only right there at the building and at the parking lot for that building. There are not signs, say at Wallaceville and Uvalde, showing you where to turn. So that's why I provided the map. And there'll be a sign, and y'all, once you get to the building, once you find the building, there's a sign and there's people inside the building who can tell you you need to go to the second floor. But you have to get to that point.
You go to the press release is wrong, it says 7:30, it's at 7 o'clock, the meeting's at 7.
Okay. All right. So here's how you can report pollution complaints in Harris County. And I will be sharing the slide deck with Carolyn, so she can then pass it on to everybody else via email. That way, you know, anyone who wants to go ahead and take a picture of this, feel free to do so. There are some links that are hyperlinked in here, so I can share this with you via email if that is convenient as well. Okay.
And I do want to say, y'all were also provided the actual permit, application notice, public notice, which has the address and time on it.
Perfect.
The correct time on it.
Thank
So,
you.
But it does not tell you what building to go to. It just tells you what room to go to.
Okay. Now this is another avenue that you could submit a complaint. This will go directly to TCEQ. This is their Houston regional number that you can contact. You could submit a complaint in English. You can go ahead and scan this QR code for that. or you could submit a complaint in Spanish. Again, I'm happy to provide this to you via email if that is helpful to get those links. Okay. All right, moving on. Now I do want to talk briefly about why public comments matter. I've been kind of alluding to the fact that, you know, people should submit a public comment because the TCEQ is required. They are required to review and respond to all relevant comments, which is why if you've got something specific, please do bring it up so they, you know, have to respond to you. Strong comments can delay, modify, or even help stop a permit. So please don't feel like, you know, what is my comment? What difference is it going to make? No, it certainly could make a difference if enough people bring it up to TCEQ. So comments do become part of the public record. Again, I'm going to talk about what to expect when you get to the meeting. There is a recorded portion and an informal portion. The comments are part of the public record, which is the recorded portion. And they signal to TCEQ as well as the facility owners that the community is engaged, they're mobilized, and they care that they're going to show up. They're not going to let things slide. The violations are not going to go unnoticed. They do care. And, you know, it's a force to be reckoned with. So your voice basically helps build a collective case and creates media momentum as well. So here's how to submit a comment. I've provided the exact link. You can also scan this QR code, enter the permit number, which for this permit is going to be 174650, and you can go ahead and share your comments. Did you want to take a photo of that, David, real quick? Okay. All right. I've also provided some sample comments here. This is not what you need to submit. It is really entirely up to you on what your specific concerns are. But if you are like, oh, I don't really know how to draft a comment, I wish I had some kind of an idea. Well, this is something that may give you a starting point that you can certainly use to draw some inspiration. All right, now I want to quickly cover for the next 10 minutes what you can expect at a TCEQ public meeting. I've alluded to this also a little bit. The public meeting process generally takes about 2 to 3 hours, okay? Try to arrive 15 minutes prior to the meeting starting, just to kind of get situated. Go to the registration desk, which TCEQ will have a registration desk, and they'll have you sign in. It's not meant to be intimidating, but some people can find it intimidating to sign up. What they're basically going to ask you is, do you plan on submitting a comment today? If so, you have to sign up. You have to go ahead and register if you plan on delivering a comment. You need to also fill out the form if you want to be on TCEQ's mailing list, so you can get updates on what's happening with this permit. You will also need to sign up for that. This would also be a good spot to go ahead and receive your interpretation device if you would like to listen in Spanish, or I'm not sure if they have any other language options. I don't know, right? It's predominantly Spanish.
It's gonna be English and Spanish unless the community has another type of language that is used in the community.
Okay, so yeah, they do have interpretation devices and headphones, so that is something that is available at the meeting. So the first 30 minutes is roughly, that does not need to be accurate. If it goes on longer, it may be between, 30 minutes to an hour. That portion tends to be the informal portion. That's the Q&A session where you can walk up to the mic, you can ask TCEQ, typically situated on the right-hand side of the stage, and the facility owner, typically situated on the left-hand side. You can ask them any question. And I have some examples of questions that you might be able to ask them. It's meant to be conversational. You can expect a back and forth, so they will respond right away to your question. The second half of the portion, which typically begins, if this meeting is at 7, expect 7 to 8 to be the Q&A portion. 8 o'clock is when the formal comment period will begin. But again, that's just an estimate. Don't think, oh, Reem said, the formal comment period is going to start at 8, so I'm going to go at 8. No. I do recommend that you please be on time, because you never know with these things. You never know who's going to show up and whatnot. I would hate for you to miss the meeting. So the formal recorded portion of the meeting is where that is recorded, and your comments, you'll be allowed to just go up to the stage and deliver your comment. What's not going to happen is TCEQ or the facility will not respond to your comment right away. Okay, they're just going to take note of it. It's going to be in the record, what exactly you shared, but they're not going to respond to you. And you have about 5 minutes to share your comment. So bear that in mind. All right, so after the public meeting, what TCEQ will do is they're going to review all of the comments, and they will email the responses to all formal comments that were made at the meeting and submitted before the end of the public meeting. So whether you submitted a comment via online or by mail, or you delivered it in person, all of those comments are considered formal comments. They will all be responded to. Okay, but if you asked a question during the Q&A portion, that is not something that you are going to receive a response for, a written response for. That response is just going to be in person, kind of like a live exchange. Okay. All right, this is kind of what a meeting looks like, just to give you a sense. Nothing intimidating, just, it's kind of what it looks like. Some know before you goes, you do not have to present your ID or give any personal information that you are not wanting to. If you don't want to share your name as you're registering, you could go ahead and write concerned citizen. That is okay to do. TCEQ has shared that with us. There will be security at this meeting, but that's just, that's pretty typical for these types of meetings, so nothing to be concerned about. And we, Air Alliance Houston, will be present at the meeting. Our staff will be wearing some type of an identifier, either this button or an Air Alliance Houston shirt. If you do need help of any sort, just go ahead and flag one of us. We'll help you, whether it's to submit a comment, or if you are just feeling slightly intimidated and want somebody to walk up to the mic with you, we are happy to do so. Okay, so and if you are feeling a bit anxious, feel free to bring a buddy or a friend. That's totally fine too. Go ahead, Phil.
Can we, bring literature like about fumes to public health?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yes. Yeah, you certainly could. And in fact, bring that up in your comment. If that's, you would like to bring that to TCEQ's attention or the facilities, feel free to bring that up, certainly. All right, I've also talked a little bit about how to write an online comment, but I want to talk briefly about how to deliver an in-person comment. Again, you do have to sign up to speak when you arrive at the registration. If you plan on delivering an in-person comment, just know that you have to register. They will make you go back and register. If you tell TCEQ, oh, I haven't registered, but I'd like to comment, they won't let you do it. They'll say, please go back, register, and then come on front and give your comment. So you'll have to kind of skip the line and go back. So just make sure that you do sign up in the beginning. You can draft a comment beforehand. You don't have to kind of, make something up off the cuff. As you're speaking, try to make it personal to you, whatever your concerns are. If it's health or safety concerns, if you're concerned about your family, whether, it's proximity to schools, homes, churches, or maybe you have more of an environmental concern, if it's traffic, dust, water issues, anything along those lines, feel free to, mention that in your in-person comment as you're delivering. So personal stories or lived experiences typically are more impactful when they're delivered. Speak clearly, confidently, and from the heart. You can also go ahead and write out your comment and read it if it makes it easy for you to do so. Again, I just have a couple more, know before you goes about submitting or delivering an in-person comment. I think I've mentioned this already. If you don't want to share your name, you could write in a concerned citizen. A person's immigration status does not affect their right to comment at all, if that's something that you are concerned about. And just some thoughts on what you can share as you're delivering your comments.
Before you go,
Yes.
can you, if everybody's spoken, can you speak again?
No, I don't believe so. I haven't seen this happen. Like, can you?
Well, happening. I thought 2 or 3 times, I guess, with this section.
So here, you could ask a question during the Q&A session and then go back and comment formally. That is something you can do, but can you deliver 2 comments during the formal comment period?
You can only go up once, but in the first part, you can come up as many times to ask as many questions.
I think too, part of that is dependent on the TCEQ board that's in front of you.
Mhm.
Because I believe I have been at some of the hearings where a person was allowed.
Really?
But that also too is dependent upon
Who's there?
how many
Yeah.
people are there.
Yes.
And what comments they
Yes.
want to hear.
I
So,
agree.
but I do believe that I've seen
You think so?
people
Okay.
go up there. But then again, I think the actual rules say you only get to talk once.
Yeah, okay. So, feel free to share the entirety of your comment as you're going up there. That way it kind of, it helps Phil to draft up your comments ahead of time. That way, you're like, oh, you don't have that feeling of, I forgot to mention this part, right? It certainly helps to be thorough.
I will say though, like, there is folks who submit written comments online, but then still go to the hearing to provide comments in person. So sometimes you'll see on the database, someone have put multiple comments in different times, but they're still showing.
Can you submit local articles like from the local newspaper about our pollution problem?
Can you upload documents onto
You
your?
can upload documents on TCEQ online. So some people have actually, believe you can also do voice audio as well. But photos, documents, all of that, you should be able to put it on the website. If not, you can always email TCEQ as well.
You can possibly include the link to the Fume podcast. Yeah, I think that would be a good thing to include. I did mention that I was going to talk more about the Q&A session. I've been to a couple of these meetings now. I've just recently joined Airlines Houston, and I've noticed that it's a very interesting exchange that happens during the Q&A session. So I wanted to share a couple of things with you about it. I've already mentioned the fact that at this point, in the Q&A session, you can expect some type of a back and forth between you and TCEQ, or you and the facility, or even 3-way. If you have questions for both of them, you could absolutely include it. Ooh, okay. I thought I had plugged it, never mind. So what kinds of questions are we recommending that you ask about? We are hoping that you will cover things like violation history, permit requirements, financial waste, the tax abatement issue that we talked about, the cost per job, or fence line monitoring, emission events, transparency, accountability. These are just to give you, get the juices flowing in your mind about what you could ask questions about. We recommend that you lead with facts when you're asking questions. So if you are wanting to ask about violations, again, maybe reference Anthony's portion of the presentation, the numbers that he went over, 78 violations since 2019, things like that. It really does matter. Bring up dollar amounts, legal requirements, things like that. Ask a question, but always phrase it in a way that forces them to, defend something that may be indefensible. And keep the mic politely until you get a direct answer, whether it's from the facility owners or whether it's from TCEQ, because oftentimes we've noticed folks, community members, walk away from the mic kind of feeling like their question wasn't answered. So keep at it, ask a question in a different way to try to get an answer that seems reasonable to you. I've also put together some sample questions that you might be able to ask. If you are like, I don't really know what kinds of questions to ask, you could ask questions about the environmental violations and compliance. Here's a list. I'll just read out one example from each of these categories that I've put together. You could ask things like, what specific steps have you taken to prevent future benzene exceedances? And how can the community verify this in real time? That's just one example from environmental violations and compliance. When it comes to public money and tax abatements, you could ask, LyondellBasell has received over 104 million in tax breaks for 45 jobs. That's 3.3 million per job. How do you justify that to taxpayers in Channelview? You could ask about public health and safety. So this community already experiences higher asthma, COPD rates than the county average. What?
What documents do you have for that? I'm sure there are documents for that higher rate. You have a state studies or cancer studies or, because it would be
Sure.
helpful to
Sure.
specify a particular
Okay.
study.
You know, that's a good point. I didn't think about that, but you know, I will create a separate resource for that, Phil. Something that folks can reference. And I will share that with you, Carolyn. Okay.
Just off the top of the head, Texas State Department of Services has declared us as a cancer cluster, and they specify that there's actually a chart that has 22 cancers, although 29 cancers were identified in Thea's study, and there's 11 cancers which are well above normal rates, which is why we are the cancer cluster, which is COPD, bronchial cancers, cervical cancers, I just went blank on all the cancers, but there is a list. And there's the study. Then, if you look at the census tracts, which if you have those,
Mhm.
they actually, document it there.
Sure. And I can include some studies.
They can't real-time fence line monitoring live online instead of have to wait 24 hours.
Exactly.
I mean, that little monitor I got's instant, it's right there, you know, and
Yeah.
the purple air monitors are instant, you can see what's going. And that's a big company, they ought to be able to put that stuff live online.
Certainly.
We breathe real time.
Because, I mean, if they have a big release and then all of a sudden their monitors go crazy, why should we wait 24 hours?
Why should you?
Come up the answer to this, I don't understand.
Certainly. Again, these are just some examples. If you're asking for real-time monitoring, then absolutely make your ask, and the community absolutely deserves that.
They
Mhm.
test them every once in a while, I can hear them way down where I'm at, you know?
Right?
So
They can
if you
use
hear
that.
them horns going off, right, gotta wait 24 hours for them to,
Exactly.
you know, that needs to be instant. But you can look it up,
Sure thing.
'cause everybody's got an internet in their pocket, you know?
They have
Absolutely.
Care online, which they're supposed to report within 15 minutes, I believe, to Care Online, but that's voluntary. And, most people don't know, they would go look for
The care,
they would go look at Lawndell's website before they went to Care, because a lot of them don't even know about the Care Online.
because care line's mostly in Deer Park. And there's over here too.
Yeah, I refer to it all the time. I live within 2 miles.
And not only that, to get away with saying that don't post something is that they're gonna be doing some sort of work this weekend and don't post it on like 3 or 4 days ahead of time. But then the real occurrence happens on the weekend and people are wondering what's going on. Then you have to scroll down the care line to find where the violation is and who's doing it and hope that you're gonna associate.
And I've notified Care of, hey, notified us 4 days ago, but the troubling is happening today.
Right,
How about updating it for today?
right, you know.
And they do.
The recent one that they did was a real bad one back in January. That one sounded like a jet was driving down my driveway, you know. And that I live, you know, like 10 miles away.
Yes.
It's like that.
There was a lot of people
It was-
talking about
It
that.
was bad. It was rattling the walls and everything. And they posted it on Monday that they were gonna be doing stuff, but they did not post a single thing for that occurrence, nothing. And so that was one of our big complaints that when they came to the Chamber of Commerce, asking for their support for this.
Yeah, the neighbor cap. Complained a lot about that home railing.
That ground flare thing,
Well, was there was railing?
Yeah.
they got a thing they call a ground flare on the
Yeah.
side of a football field,
Yeah,
that
that's-
thing rattles. You,
Pretty good.
when it's going good, you can feel it all the way down there in the river bottom. It,
Yeah, it will rattle your cabinets, you know?
oh,
And you just
yeah,
start rattling.
yeah,
Say, what's going on?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean. Doesn't put out a lot of smoke like the big tall stacks do. I mean, sometimes them stacks put out a pretty good amount of black smoke. That ground flare, they said that's supposed to cure all the pollution that comes off, it's supposed to burn it all off. but-
99.5.
Right.
99.5.
Yeah, it does, it's
Check your
best
house
technology, yeah.
while it's clear.
That's what makes you, it'll make those come out of the, nails come out of the side of your house with some bit shaped.
Wow.
I would like to suggest,
Mhm.
people who's going to the meeting, that you sign up to make comments, even if you don't think you're gonna make comments, because you may want to respond or add on to something somebody else made comments. And if you're bringing a buddy with you, get them to sign up. So if you don't get to finish your comments, maybe they can finish them for you, or they can make their own comments. But instead of being sent to the end of the line or not being allowed to speak at all, just do it as a precautionary to sign up to speak.
That's great advice.
Yeah, because one thing we've also have noticed in hearings is that like if they have a list. A lot of times the TCEQ folks don't necessarily want to be in a hearing because community. Can get heated for obvious reasons, because it is hostile, but also like, you know, it's our communities, they're. Dealing with health issues, they're dealing with environmental injustices, so they will sometimes really try to fast track it so that it's like, okay, this is the last person, okay, we're done. So it's easier just to sign up, even if it gets to you and you decide not to, or even if it says. I will say, even if you are like, I don't really wanna say much, even just going to the mic and saying, hi, I am part of this community. I want TCEQ to deny this permit, thank you, that is sufficient, because that would be on record.
All right, any other questions, folks? Anything else that came up as we delivered the presentation? Anything you'd like for us to clarify?
Talk about the bus.
Oh, yes, we do have a bus picking up folks from this location at 6 p.m. on Tuesday. It's gonna be a 25-seater bus, so, you know, a reasonable sized. If you are struggling with transportation, and this is more accessible for you, feel free, in fact, please do take advantage of it. We will be providing a bus. We are going to be leaving here, plan on being here by 6 p.m. So we'll hopefully get there on time. We wanna,
Harris County Transport has buses
okay,
going by here.
Okay.
To the college.
great, great. That's another option, certainly, yeah.
But not at 7 o'clock.
That's good.
But also,
Oh, they get that far.
if you wanna show up as a group, you know, we are able to show up as a group.
Yeah.
It makes a big
It makes a big difference when you see a bus full of people
Yeah.
showing up to the hearing.
And will the bus bring you back?
Yes,
So we'll leave as soon as the meeting is done.
so bring yourself, bring your buddy, bring your other buddy, bring your neighbor. Bring everyone.
And where's that notice about the bus?
We have it on our flyer, which I'll hand one of them to you.
We're gonna be doing some social media pushes this weekend as well, that it will go.
And will we be able to listen to the video recording of the meeting?
Oh. It's all. Yeah, that should be a bigger letters.
We're struggling. David, can I offer you one?
Yes, please.
It's gonna be at its location folks at 6 p.m. on Tuesday. Okay, we'll be out there.
Can you send me the graphics for this?
Absolutely. I think,
And
I'll do that. Yep. Any other questions?
That's it? Well, if you have in the JPEG form, you
JPEG
can
is better
send
for
it
you.
directly to Greg,
Okay,
so he can post it ASAP.
you know what? I'm gonna do that right away.
She's got a bad habit of sending me stuff 15 minutes before the meeting. You know, she last, Shelton Road cleanup. I got the email 45 minutes after they started the cleanup, both of them, she needed help.
Not before.
Yeah, yeah. That, you know, they didn't put the law.
But anyway, you already have.
Well, she sends it, yeah, well, she sends them out automatic, you know,